Hello, this is Skylit Lake reading Wine and Dine in Spite by Midoriya Izuku. Chapter 7 Moonlight Sonata. Shouto hadn't seen Izuku since they'd been separated at the mall. Admittedly, he wasn't a fan of malls, or of being alone for that matter. He wandered vaguely around the mall for a bit, pretending to look at things and doing what his classmates call window shopping. He's fairly unfamiliar with the concept. He doesn't see Izuku until about 3 hours later, when he's sitting at one of the communal tables in the middle of the mall. He's bored and lonely, a combination that's never gone well with Shouto. But the prospect of using his brain to reflect on the chat with his mother would imply trying to comprehend and make sense of the mess of feelings his heart has unlocked towards Izuku, which he is not eager to do. Said feelings make themselves present when Shouto sees Izuku walking side by side with Bakugo, smile on his face and a breathless blush on his cheeks, laughing about something as Bakugo himself grumbles, yet the corner of his mouth lifts in betrayal of his supposedly annoyed mood. Something painfully twists inside of Shouto when he sees the scene, which is odd considering Shouto has seen this before, has seen them laugh side by side, and has seen them operate in an almost single-minded way, in perfect sync and well acquainted with each other. He's had enough deep and complicated feelings for one day though, which is how he decides to ignore trying to comprehend the feeling and instead lets his body move on his own, dragging him in between the two of them and quickly taking the bag in Izuku's hand, fingers brushing the warm skin on the back of Izuku's hand in the process. "Here," he says, not even realizing he started speaking. "Let me get that for you." "Oh no, Shouto, you don't have to do that. I can carry it myself." Izuku starts, waving his hands and reaching for the bag, which Shouto just pulls away from him. No, I insist," he says. "I've already done enough damage to your hands. I should at least help where I can." That did not make any sense in this context, but it does get Izuku to start to stretch and ball up his fingers, a motion that Shouto now realizes he finds incredibly captivating, dare you say attractive. "Shouto, you didn't have to." "No, really, you've been carrying this all day. Just let me." Izuku starts to protest, but before Shouto can say anything, Bakugo interjects. The emotion twists in Shouto's gut again. "Just let him do it, nerd. He clearly wants to." Izuku's face seems to redden, and suddenly Shouto is really liking the idea of leaving Bakugo and going home. He finally addresses the blonde. "Bakugo, I didn't expect you to be here." Bakugo scoffs and tilts his head upwards, mouth twisting into something close to a scowl. "Half and half. I didn't know you could shop at the mall like us commoners." "I'm not shopping," says Shouto, choosing not to mention how Bakugo's parents owns a fashion line. "I'm here for Izuku. He wants to be here, so I came here." "So, you do what the nerd tells you to do," says Bakugo in something that resembles a teasing voice, but is ineffective on Shouto, who does not give two shits about what Bakugo's opinion is on him. "If he so wants me to." That seems to take Bakugo by surprise, for he backs up a few steps and stares at him with wide eyes. His eyes dart to Izuku before he scoffs and turns around to walk away from them. "Right," he says. "I'll see you later, nerd." He walks away and Shouto is left with nothing but himself, Izuku, and what he'd brought. "Sorry I didn't tell you I was with Kachan," says Izuku. Shouto just shrugs at him. "It's okay, you didn't have to. It's not like I can say who you can and can't be with." Izuku smiles at him before he pulls out his phone and his eyes widen. "Oh, it's so late already. Do you want to go back to your house?" "We could. Is that what you want to do?" "If you don't mind." He smiles. Shouto nods along and starts to walk towards the exit. In a bold move, he reaches out for Izuku's hand when they stand side by side. Izuku jumps at the touch, but eventually laces his fingers with Shouto's, blushed cheeks on his face. The train ride back to Shouto's house is spent in comfortable silence for the most part, with Izuku lightly leaning on Shouto and Shouto subconsciously warming up their area. He looks over to Izuku, whose expression remains relaxed as they go on the train. Shouto's emotions seems to be overtaking him, his mind flooded with love confessions and dramatic declarations of infatuation. He idly wonders what would happen if he was to tell Izuku about the inner battle he's been having. If he was to express every ounce of undying, fiery emotion that his heart houses and that he can't possibly make sense of. He wonders what Izuku would say, if he would understand the emotions within Shouto, or if he would be just as confused about them as he is. When they get back to Shouto's house, they are greeted by the smiling face of his siblings. There is a tension on their shoulders, as there always is, but they seem to be more relaxed than an usual day would have them. Shouto walks in, still holding Izuku's bag, heading to his room and having the green-haired boy collapse on his large bed, facing his ceiling fan and closing his eyes in a way that has Shouto staring at him with indefinite admiration, until he spots the boy starting to flutter his eyelids back open as he moves to sit up. "I had a great time today, Shouto." He smiles. Shouto is still far too hung up on the way Izuku pronounces his name to really pay attention. "I'm glad," says Shouto. "Did you want to do anything else today? We have the rest of the night to ourselves for the most part." Izuku seems to think about it for a few seconds, before smiling back at him. "I was wanting to maybe go on a run, or just do a quick routine outside. I feel like I've been slacking off these few days, and I don't want to get out of shape." Shouto spends a fraction of a second thinking about Izuku's God-sculpted abs and bicep before he remembers the subject of such abs and biceps is standing in front of him and most likely staring at him like he's crazy. "You can do that if you want," says Shouto. "Do you want to do that now or later? I can call you for dinner if you want." "I can go now," says Izuku. "And yeah, that'd be lovely if you called me in." As Izuku starts to change into what Shouto assumes are his workout clothes, Shouto decides to leave the room. Considering how close they've had to get to each other in the past 4 days, and despite the fact that Shouto would be glad to stay and stare at Izuku for the rest of the night, and maybe, just maybe, the rest of their lives, he knows that this is his subtle hint that he should get going, which is fine. He walks into their kitchen, getting himself a glass of ice-cold water as he hears the back door open and close with the sure steps of his friend. How lovely is it to hear someone else's step and not be overcome with the worst of his anxieties and doubts about what the future holds for his life. In any case, he returns to the living room a few minutes later, hand on his phone and scrolling through the only social media app on his phone. Personal request of his classmate and not approved by his father. Sometime after this, his brother and sister both sit in the parallel couches that their living room has. A strange arrangement, considering they can barely stand to sit still when their father is not supervising them. Nevertheless, Shouto goes to sit in the small love seat adjacent to the large screen TV. "I like him," says his sister. "He seems like a lovely boy." "So you've said," replies Shouto. "Although," begins Natsuo, and Shouto is fully ready to defend Izuku at the exact same moment. "He seems very, how do I put this, lonely." "Lonely?" asks Shouto, because he's never thought of Izuku as a lonely person. If anything, he's the most social person that Shouto knows. Although, it's not like Shouto knows a lot of people who serve a good reference to what a not lonely person looks like. "Yeah," continues his brother, "he just seems to always be in a rush, but never for himself, you know." "No, I don't know," answers Shouto, because he truly doesn't know where Natsuo seems to be going with this. "I just don't remember the last time I saw this kid do something out of his own interest or anything like that. And he always seems to be on the move, almost like he is trying to reach something that seems unattainable." Shouto looks out the window, finding his eyes facing Izuku's beautiful green curls, shielding his face from Shouto's view and sticking to his sweaty forehead as he jumps around, viridian lightning surrounding him and slowly but surely tiring him out. I'm just rambling at this point," says Natsuo. "Maybe I'm just jealous of you." Shouto stays silent, pointedly still staring at Izuku. He hasn't really stopped to think about it, though Izuku seems to be always willing to help those around him without asking for anything back. Shouto had always tried to give back, but it's not until now that he realizes it is never something Izuku had ever mentioned or even brought up. The idea of deserving back. All that matters is that you love who you want, that you love who you can have by your side when it matters. Has Shouto been at Izuku's side when it matters? He likes to think so, considering the amount of time they've been caught in situations where being in sync and relying on each other is a matter of life and death. But what about in their normal days? Has he done enough? He focuses back on Izuku, who's now taken to practice some kind of martial art in the courtyard. Izuku's always been the more selfless of the two. Shouto has seen him run himself to the ground, doing all sorts of things for people in all sorts of ways. It borders on concerning at times, if he's to be fully honest. He tries to express it before, to tell Izuku about this habit of his, to surrender everything and anything about himself to others is dangerous for him. Has spent far more than enough time bandaging wrists and brushing filth out of curly green hair, and covering up for them when he simply falls asleep mid-class, and Shouto pretends to be talking with him, but doesn't make it any less worrying. "I should check on him, bring him back in." "Oh," says Natsuo, "you don't have to do that. Sorry for interfering in your relationship." "No, you're right," says Shouto. He is pretty lonely. Maybe I want to be the only one he's not lonely with. Is that selfish?" "No, I wouldn't say so," cuts in for Yumi. If anything, it's the opposite of selfish. I think it's sweet you want to keep him company. I agree, says Natsuo. Not like we'd know much about company anyways, absent-mindedly mutters Shouto. The three of them fall silent. You actually like Izuku, right? You're not doing this just to spite Dad. Shouto's stomach twists in anger. Date Izuku despite Endeavor? What kind of heartless, manipulative monster would do that? Why would Natsuo even insinuate that? Their relationship is fully... You understand what I'm trying to do? Truly? You sure it's not just because you want to tell your dad that you're dating All Might's son? Genuine. I like to think of all of that as an added plus. Except it isn't. None of this is. None of their relationship is. Because they're not dating. The only reason Izuku is even here is because of yet another self-sacrificial act on Izuku's part. Fuck. Shouto stays silent for a second as he tries to think about what to say to his brother, his thoughts muddled with those he had during the conversation with his mother. No, I'm not dating him because of that. I actually love him. And it feels amazing to finally say it out loud, to admit to himself that maybe that enormous gap between what he and Izuku are and what Shouto wants them to be can be closed one step at a time. To finally admit to himself the desire he denies himself all this time, since the day Izuku set his heart ablaze. It's intoxicating, the amount of joy it brings him to say it out loud. I love Izuku. I love him. His siblings glance at each other with something that borders on being uncomfortable, but Shouto is already too far gone at the glass door separating the living room from the area where Izuku is. He's already too far out there, and he's already reaching to cool the air where Izuku has been avidly training for the past hour maybe. Izuku shakingly halts his movement as his wide green eyes looks up at Shouto's with confusion. Shouto, oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't see... Sorry, didn't you want to tell me about dinner? Or did you need something else? Shouto grabs Izuku's drying towel and starts to solemnly walk towards where he is now standing. He folds it in between his hands and runs his fingers across its edge. Izuku's face scrunches when Shouto is face to face and reaches his hands towards him. He runs the edge of the towel along Izuku's brow, delicately wiping the sweat along his and loosely running a hand up and into his green hair. He uses the towel to keep on softly wiping Izuku's face, paying attention to each of his features, getting so close to his face he can feel them breathing the same air. He pulls the towel away from Izuku's face and rather presses their foreheads together, one hand coming up to cup along Izuku's cheek, rubbing his thumb in circles as Izuku leans into the intimacy of the touch. I think you've exerted yourself enough for one day. Izuku hums, the rumble of his throat running along his face and into Shouto's. How about we do something else together? Asks Shouto. Yeah? Like what? I don't know. Maybe we can cook together? Shouto whispers. Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea, considering both our histories with it. Yeah, I suppose that's right. Shouto begins to look around until his eyes land on one of the speakers in the Todoroki's courtyard. How about a dance? A dance? Startles Izuku, pulling away from Shouto's forehead, much to Shouto's disappointment. Shouto takes out his phone, connects it to the speaker. He picks a song, something soft and slow, for the two of them. The music begins to play around them. Yes, a dance, he says. His arms hooks around Izuku's waist, pulling him close and interlacing their remaining hands together. Have you ever danced with someone? I can't say I have, says Izuku. I have 2 left feet. Shouto smiles back at him. Then it's good I have 2 right ones. Izuku smiles. Just follow along with me, says Shouto. Try to feel the music. He was taught this dance a very, very long time ago. Only once. For a gala he had to attend with his father, where he was expected to know how to move. Despite that, now, when it matters, the memory of it comes back to him easily, turning and swaying with the music as Izuku's bright smile lights up everything. It's messy, it's clumsy, it's everything Izuku is, and Shouto feels the emotion swell within his chest. Oh, he's very, very badly in love. I never took you for someone who really is into music and dancing, says Izuku. I usually am not, says Shouto, but I can do it when it matters. Is now one of those times? Asks Izuku playfully. With you, always. They fall back into silence as Shouto feels Izuku melt into the embrace. After dinner, Shouto leads Izuku back to their room, going through a routine they've established. When Shouto comes back into their room, Izuku is already in their bed. The covers are pulled up all the way to his nose, and he can see him bundled up looking at his phone closely. You'll hurt your sight if you look at your phone that closely. Izuku startles and drops the phone into the covers before he regains awareness of the situation. Oh Shouto, you scared me. He laughs. Do you want me to turn off the light now? If that's okay with you. Of course it is. So, they turn off the light. Moments later, he sees Izuku's turn to face him. I just want to say that I've had a great time so far. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for being willing to put up with my family, smiles Shouto. For you, always. Silence floods the room. Izuku turns around. Shouto stares at Izuku's back again, just like he did the first night, and just like he has done before. He could reach out right now. He could touch the velvety skin covered by the white fabric of Izuku's nightshirt. He could trace every muscle, every scar, every inch of the freckled skin that there is, even if it's kept from him, even if that skin is his very own tree of knowledge, and the warmth from his skin is a serpent urging him to bite the apple. He wants to. He so wants to. Does Izuku realize, thinks Shouto, what he means to him? Does you notice the way he can't seem to ever pull his mind away from the emerald curls and the viridian eyes, and the sun-kissed skin, and the specks of brown on him? Does Izuku realize the way he's plagued Shouto's mind? Izuku's deep breaths fill the room as he starts to truly, fully fall asleep. One of his hands twitches. Maybe, someday, he'll reach for the fruit. He sleeps. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a very, very sweet chapter. I mean, all the chapters are very sweet, but this in particular, just that realization, the poetry in it, like, it seemed so soft. I've been listening over my past recordings for a while now and realized that I seem to talk really fast, so that's why this chapter is just very slow. If you guys like that, Please comment down below if you prefer the faster or slower versions, because I know certain people like it really slow, certain people like it really fast. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!